Okay, great. Welcome to today's program. We're going to be talking about the Chevy Volt. That's Volt with a V to distinguish from the Chevy Bolt with a B. The Chevy Volt is a plug-in hybrid car. As you can see, it does have a gasoline engine, a 1.5 liter gas engine. Has a 15 kilowatt hour battery. So this car can be plugged into the wall using this plug. You want to come around here?
Okay, why don't you go ahead and close the hood for me,
Okay.
so I can show the car. Right now, it just looks like a whale getting ready to eat us. This is a 2017, right, Joseph?
That's right.
Okay.
So-called second generation. So this is the charging port. This is a J1772 plug connected to 240 volt service. Plug it in. Check the indicator light.
There it
Starts
is.
blinking.
Mm-hmm.
It says it's charging.
Yes.
Very simple. Walk away from at this point.
Yeah, I think the older ones had a range of about, what, 36 miles or something?
Right.
Okay, you had some stuff on the dash?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, I'm in.
All right. So a couple things to notice. I'm going to start it up. Actually, it's plugged in, so I can't start it.
You can't start it. Okay.
Yeah. Let me unplug it.
Okay. Yeah, it's my plug is just a bit, it's a bit tight on my car too.
Yeah.
They're not all like that.
So push button start. And you'll see here it gives me the electric voltage range, or the electric range, 40 miles roughly. And right now I have 154 miles I can go on gasoline.
When's the last time you gassed up?
Well, it would have been Monday before I went to Truth or Consequences. We have the infotainment system, which gives us data on the car. When I'm driving, it'll show me which way the electricity is going and roughly how fast. I can set the charging parameters. The default is 8 amps. I can change it to 12. That only applies to a portable charge cord operating at 110 volts. So if you plug it into 220, it defaults to a much higher level, of course. This shows you my lifetime 86.6 miles per gallon.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is that's how many miles I've gone per gallon of gasoline I've used, so it's not MPGE. Since the last full charge, it'll tell me how many miles I've gone on electricity and how many miles I've gone on gas. So the last full charge was 2 days ago. Since then, I drove to Deming, which is about a 50-mile trip both ways. As a result, I've at this point have used quite a bit more gas than electricity. However, you can see from my lifetime that in general I'm running a little bit more than half on electricity.
I think I've seen 55% was the figure
That's right.
on electricity.
Yeah, it's not shown on this screen, but it's on the screen that we saw.
You have an app for all this, right?
That's right. The telephone app runs on Android or iOS. Will give me a much more thorough breakdown of the parameters for energy use and so forth.
I'll tell you what, well, we've only been in this about 4 minutes. You want to just go for a ride?
Sure, we can do that.
I've got to find my belt. Oh, there it is.
So We got
I'm going
our
to stay back here.
Okay, got our backup camera here so I can make sure there are no dogs behind us.
Let me get belted in first.
Sure.
Would you hold this?
Oh, yeah.
Got it. Yeah. We don't want to turn that. Sometimes it'll flip the whole thing and then you go to
Then,
do the movie and it's playing sideways. That's not good. Yeah, we got the most unprofessional filming crew we could find, me.
and the easiest scripting process, which is, well, let's just go and chat about the car.
Exactly. We did discuss it a little bit.
Yeah.
But you have a choice of being in EV mode only if you have the charge for it.
Right.
Or you can go ahead and just switch it over to run on gasoline if you wanted to.
That's right. I can do either way.
And of course, if you run out of charge, it'll automatically switch.
Yeah. And people ask me about that, and they wonder if you can tell. And sometimes you can tell the car will give a slight jiggle, but it's a pretty transparent process, so you don't have to worry about it or think about it.
And my driveway's a 1/4 mile long. Yeah, let's just go down to the, you know where the Blue Moon Bar is, and then we can just come
Sure.
back.
Sure. Now, it's going to be hard to tell in the video, but this is actually a pretty quiet vehicle because, of course, we are running in 100% electric mode right now. The engine is not running at all.
We like to make a lot of jokes about our car. Every time I power it up, I'll say, it's running kind of rough today. I say, I think that carburetor needs a tune-up.
Yeah.
I think it's loping, don't you, dear? I think it's a bad spark plug. We're always joking about that.
Yeah. Of course, a lot of people in the audience won't know what those terms mean.
Yeah. I've been driving for 50 years. And it'll get up to speed with alacrity, right, Joseph?
Oh, yeah. Of course, the audience can't tell, but you could feel that.
Yeah. I'm shooting in vision.
Really, there's a slight bit of wind noise, and of course, there's tire noise, but that's it.
Tire thrum is about 50% of the noise that the vehicle makes, especially at highway speeds. It's probably the predominant noise from the outside,
Sure.
is tire thrum.
But at typical city speeds, there's no wind noise
Right.
and very little tire noise.
And of course, you're probably getting over 100 miles per gallon equivalent in electric drive in the city.
Yes, I am. And one thing about the noise is that if you're in a parking lot, you have to remember the pedestrians, they can't hear your car. So you have to be extra alert to the fact that pedestrians may be walking around in the parking lot without even knowing that there's a car moving.
Well, one of the things that's different about Joseph and most car owners is Joseph's job takes him to Patch, Truth or Consequences, Deming, and where else?
Doniana.
And he lives in Las Cruces, so if he was more typical of someone just commuting back and forth to work every day, like 15 miles or so, he'd probably be running 80-90% in electric mode or most of the time. But because he travels those long distances, he's only doing about 55% on average.
That's right. And that was the key thing in my decision to buy a plug-in hybrid as opposed to a pure electric vehicle. The trip to Truth or Consequences in particular, Yeah.
140 some miles round trip, right?
No, from where I live, it's 160.
160 miles, yes.
Yeah. And so if you had a car with 200 miles of range, you'd be kind of close. And given that you're driving 75 miles an hour up and down some pretty substantial hills, sometimes at 100-degree temperature, so you run the air conditioner full blast,
Okay.
you might not get 200 miles.
Your turnaround's on the right as soon as you go around the curve.
Okay. There's the famous Blue Moon Bar.
Or you could turn it around in there if you wanted to. But
Yeah. The guy was over the center line.
yeah. There you go. The infamous
Right.
Blue Moon Bar. It's better than famous.
I have to confess, I've never actually been there.
I went in and asked him a question once. I forget what it was about. Changes owners about every 2 or 3 years, seems like. Well, it's pretty seamless. I mean, you just don't have any shifting. And that's one of the things you wanted to talk about. He's in low, but all that means is he's got more regenerative braking.
Right.
There is only one gear when you're in electric drive. Or one gear ratio, let me put it that way.
Right. This particular car, the gas engine is not mechanically connected to the drivetrain. So there's no transmission.
It's what they call a series hybrid.
That's right.
And that's as opposed to a parallel hybrid, which I own, in which the electric drive and the gasoline engine can work together to drive the car through a transmission. And that makes it pretty complicated, I think. But that's how all Priuses work.
Well, in my view, one of the points of having electric is to lower the total cost of ownership. And these electric drivetrains, at least in the Tesla, are expected to last 1 million miles. And there's no automatic transmission on the planet that's going to go 1 million miles without servicing.
Yeah, it's called a planetary gear set, and it's just simply one gear. But they have to have one gear it's a gear reduction unit because the electric motor really turns very fast. And they have to reduce that down for normal highway speeds.
But there was a recent article we saw that talked about the lowering total cost of ownership. So your upfront cost for an electric vehicle tends to be higher. But if you keep it for more than, I can't remember the number, but more than a few years, you're actually paying less overall, in part because of the savings on gasoline. But the other big part is savings on service. We were talking the other day about how many times I've had this car in for service. It has 59,000 miles on it. I took it in once for an oil change.
Oh, it had 49,000, so.
Yeah, 49.
49, yeah. Here's your turn off up here. Isn't it? Nope.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there it is.
So right now I'm using the regenerative braking paddle. So I'm not even using any abrasive braking. There's no wear on the brake pad. Now I had to use the brakes just as we were pulling in.
Uh-huh.
But I bet if we looked at the brake pads, you could hardly even tell that this car has been driven.
Well, that was the report I published the other day that... Why don't you stop here, Joseph?
All right.
I'm at 14 minutes. We just need to sew this up.
Okay.
I posted the other day about New York City. Reported their vehicle fleet for EVs was only $300 of maintenance a year versus about $1,300 for their internal combustion engine cars.
Right.
And so I sent that on to Lisa at the city.
Good.
Because that's one of the issues the city is saying they're concerned about. But anyway, I got to stop this because we're at 14:40.
Okay, see you next time.
All right, see you down the road all.